All right, round number one. Before we even get into the story, I want to ask you guys, PCSing, permanent change of station. You guys, I'm sure, had to do it. Chaps, you went all the way to Japan. And I know, Cons, for a while, you like had a house in Texas and all that stuff. Do you have any good having to move all your shit stories?
I was really fortunate. I never had a problem.
Yeah.
Not once.
It was
so I was
simple?
very lucky, yeah.
How about you?
Oh, I was a big time fraud guy whenever I was in. So
I was going to mention one thing. So I did a PCS from Fort Sill down to Fort Hood, Texas, and anyone who knows the area knows that's somewhat of a short drive. So I did all my big stuff. The movers came and took care of that. But then I also did part of the move in my own car because you can get paid for doing the move by yourself.
Right.
And something that people would do often, I never did this. They would take 45-pound plates from the gym and put those in their car to make their car heavier as if they were carrying more stuff so you get more money.
Right, the heavier, because you can either choose, you did a mix of both, but you can either choose to have movers move for you or you can do it yourself, and they'll pay you to do it yourself.
Right.
They give you a certain amount of days to do it, so a certain amount of like overnights at hotels, like money, stipend for that. And the heavier your car is. So I heard stories of people putting sandbags in their car, the weights, all that shit. So chaps,
one of the guys from the British Army platoon that we're going to talk about later, he can hop in the back.
Okay. Hop in.
My favorite PCS story when I was moving from Virginia here, I knew exactly where I was going to go. I was taking over the rent of another guy that I was in Iraq with. He was moving duty stations from here to another spot, and I was coming in. He had just bought a house like a year and a half ago, and he was telling me about it. I was like, well, dude, and so I don't have to look for a place. I've seen your house online. I'll rent it. If I could just go at your mortgage, you don't gain money, but you don't lose money, and I'll take good care of your house. He was like, done. So I had my place all set up before I even got from Virginia, sight unseen. Drove down here, and whenever you get to your duty station, they have, during PCS moves, the budget of where you can stay is larger. Normally, like the government rate's like $120 in San Antonio, but during move rate, it goes all the way up to $280 a night is what you can spend. So we came in here. I've told the story before where I had my buddy Chris Diaz, who was killed in Afghanistan. He met me in my driveway with a bunch of Marines. They all unloaded all of my shit into my house in like 15 minutes. My wife and I took the U-Haul and we turned it in, and then we went to this place called the Marriott here in San Antonio that has like a lazy river, a TPC golf course, and we had it was the first weekend that we were together like as husband and wife in our new house, and we got to stay at an awesome place, and I was like, man, and it's all because the Lackland Inn, the military base on Lackland, was all closed up. So there was no room in the inn, just like on Christmas Eve, and so we didn't have to stay at the shitty Gateway Inn on Lackland Air Force Base. We got to go stay at a badass hotel, and it was awesome. Because at the time I was just an E5. I had never stayed in a nice. That was the nicest hotel I had ever stayed in.
Oh yeah,
by far. My wife was the same way. So when we stepped in, we're like, damn, we are fucking LIVIN.
You're balling. You're living it up. Well,
I was just gonna say one last thing. It should be mentioned. The movers typically who come are so freaking efficient and fast. I remember I had an entire house. It felt like they did it in 30 minutes. They packed my
and they'll
entire
pack your
house.
fucking trash.
Yeah.
They'll pack your trash.
If it's there, they pack it.
I've heard stories of people who are like, yeah, I left my car keys on the kitchen table, and next thing you know, they're gone. And I'm like, oh my God, the movers just wrapped them up in the bubble wrap too and threw them in a box. And people had one guy I served with said he had dog food still in the dog bowl when he unpacked it. They just packed that shit right up with all that stuff. So the movers come through like wildfire pace. But moving in the military is something that if you are in the military or you're a military brat, it's every few years you got to do it. So most people tend to not really move much in their whole lifetime. If you're in the military,
which might be the most wasteful thing that the military does.
Oh yeah,
it really might be.
Yes.
Like there's no reason to do that. Like if you're like Lance Corporal Kate, you're gonna go be Lance Corporal Kate at a different place, and they're gonna spend $15,000 to move you whenever you could just be Corporal Kate on Pendleton too. This idea that we have to move troops around every 3 years is insane. Like it's just so stupid.
Well,
I never gave thought to that, but you're absolutely right. What is the benefit? Unless you're going to a significantly different type of unit or you're changing branches or something and there's nothing available for you to move up at your current duty station, there's no reason to leave.
it's a wacky thing.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
I think captain above, like if you're moving up to like a command level lead, like XO position or higher, like if you need to have that spot and that expertise, or first sergeant and above. But underneath that, just get stationed somewhere, and if you want to, stay there. Like, because there's plenty of people that want to stay.
unfortunately for three families in California, regardless, things are as they are, and they all had to do a PCS move. So Get into this story then. A California man has been arrested for allegedly stealing a big rig with a 53-foot trailer containing the belongings of military families, the California Highway Patrol reported this past Friday. Michael Travis Forward was arrested after the stolen rig was found in the Central Valley city of Manteca, California, and about 90% of the stolen cargo was found in his home nearby.
Can I just say one thing?
Can I do a military joke real quick?
Sure.
You go and then I'll go. Go ahead.
Okay, Michael Travis Forward, more like Michael Travis in the rear with all the gear.
Whoa. All right. I like that.
And I was going to say, anyone who goes by 3 full names is either a criminal or an assassin.
Michael Travis Forward. Well, thankfully, they found all of his stuff, but 14 of stolen guns. He stole 14 guns from that cargo, the 3 different families. They are all still missing. I'm guessing if you search at some local pawn shops, you'll find exactly where those went. But making Mr. Forward even more backwards, he stole the tractor trailer containing these troops' goods on Christmas Day of all days. What
Terrible.
a Grinch. The trailer contained all of the belongings and property of 3 active duty military families who were in the process of active duty relocations. The property had a total value of over $100,000. The truck was found 3 days later, and authorities searched Forward's home and found most of the gear, as we said. They also found a stolen Harley.
Wow.
Just randomly on the side. And if you look at the photos of what was in the truck before the move, you see like a John Deere tractor, little kids' bicycles with the streamers on them, like all sorts of stuff. This guy, and what is this creepy loner man? Like, he has 3 families worth of shit in his. I'm
But
just
imagine how fun that would be
To
go
go
through
through,
ooh,
all
what did I
that
get?
stuff to see what you get.
Yeah.
This is true. It's what was that show everybody was obsessed with, where they open the storage facilities and then they get to stay.
Oh yeah,
Wars.
Storage Wars.
Storage
Yeah.
Wars.
This guy basically did a little Storage Wars goofing on these families. But I mean, on Christmas
Like
Day
if
of all
you're
days-
alone and you already in the criminal life and you can get one of those things, because you never know what you're going to stumble into. And you got 3 families worth of shit. Yeah, you're going to get your bike here and there, but what if you get like something really cool and you never know? 14 guns, that's burying the lead too. Like that's a lot of guns.
That's a lot of
just to-
guns that are missing still. But
Such a crapshoot, though.
But
Because he
I-
could have gotten 3 families worth of just absolute crap.
But it looks like he got some good stuff,
Yeah.
according to the photos that I was looking
The
at.
John
here.
Deere looks brand new.
It looks beautiful. Oh, you could really crisp a lawn with that thing. But the thing that sucks,
Crisp
these
lawn.
3 families are moving. The tractor trailer, I guess it was parked in a lot on Christmas Day because it was Christmas Day, I guess. So the move was put on hold for these 3. So the tractor, and the guy just steals it. Can you imagine finding out over the Christmas holiday that like all your possessions are gone?
Yeah.
And you have children and you have families and all your shit is just gone.
It's just really sad.
Well, that's a big thing that people get stolen is like the back of an 18-wheeler. Like it happens
Yeah.
all the time. Like whenever, I mean,
Fast
Fast
and
and the
Furious
Furious essentially made a movie about it. And my dad was a truck driver. My biological dad was a truck driver. And one time he was hauling Jimmy Dean sausage, an entire 18-wheeler full of Jimmy Dean sausage. And he called me up and he was like, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. Stole a bunch of the sausage. They got sausage all over the place. 18-wheeler full of sausage. I mean, because it's probably like it's sight unseen stealing. So then you go to the back and you're like, what am I going to get? You're hoping if it's a cooler truck, maybe beer or something like that you can sell. But you're going to fucking sausage? I can't imagine there's much of a black market for sausage.
You never
Well,
know.
so
You never
those
know.
big companies that have haul stuff at that amount, they account for a certain level of loss. I remember friends of mine, close friends from high school, their family was in the shipping and warehousing business, and they had a big deal with Miller Coors. So anytime I was having a party, I'd go over to their warehouse, and it's like, oh, bumped into that pallet of beer. You can't. Once one package of beer is damaged, you cannot sell the entire pallet. So we would have an entire pallet full of beer. So
There you
your dad
go.
took that sausage, and it was none the wiser for old Jim Dean.
Welcome to Barstool's moving fraud podcast. If you are PCSing or would like free beer or sausage, but basically this is a kind of common, getting stolen like that's not common, but people having difficulties with their PCS moves is common. So we asked the ZBT followers what some of their craziest PCS and moving moments were, and the answers did not disappoint. I'm going to read a couple of the best ones. At the Furbs said, a friend of mine was PCSing from Hawaii to Conus, which Conus is
Continental United States.
Yes, they're moving back to the States, so her goods were transferred via Connex box on a ship. The ship hit some rough weather and lost several boxes over the side due to high waves, including hers. The Navy basically told her to find as many receipts as she could and file her claim. So all her
That's
shit
ridiculous.
fell
What a
off
story,
boat.
though.
But in a similar vein, at Scott's Jacket said, I was stationed in Gitmo in 2013, and the barge bringing our PCS items sank. They lost everything. Holy fuck.
Man.
This guy said, this is a tough one too. At Bryce Johnson said, I just completed my final, his very last PCS, and they lost the parts box. So you know when you're moving and you put all the nuts and bolts and screws and this and that in those little Ziploc baggies and you tape them to stuff so you don't lose them? I guess they had a box where all that stuff went for everything in the entire house that needed to be assembled. Right now, most of my furniture is in pieces scattered around my house. They lost that box. The only box they lost.
Dude.
And they knew the box was gone Friday, but they didn't tell us until they delivered the following Tuesday. At Two Rains said, my stuff was sent from Colorado to Honduras instead of Virginia. Does that count?
Classic
Yes.
mix-up.
Yes,
Classic.
it does.
That definitely counts.
I'm going to read all these because I thought they were so
Yeah.
good. At Gears Up Flaps Up, Katie Higgins Cook said, I was
Who?
driving.
Katie Higgins. She has an awesome story. Katie Higgins Cook. She used to be the pilot for the big C-130 that the Blue Angels fly, Fat Albert. She was,
shit.
she was the pilot for Fat Albert.
All right. Well, she has a great story. She says, I was driving my rental on the island in Corpus Christi to base to check in for flight school, and I saw a moving truck on fire in the middle of the bridge. All my stuff was on that truck. Holy shit. And sustained damage. Luckily, I was poor and it was all IKEA and they reimbursed me. But to imagine me moving and be like, oh, that sucks. And then be like, wait a minute, that's my stuff. Oh my God. At CM Barrett.
But there is, what she said there is kind of true, because if you're a lower level enlisted or you're a lower officer, a lot of the furniture that you have is most likely not going to be expensive. You're going to have a bunch of hand-me-down shit from other people that were moving. So if you're oh, now I get to get a brand new bed, that feels like a stunt, man. A brand new couch. A lot of people in this position, you watch your shit burn. That's probably the first time you've had a new couch in your life.
Oh, there was one on the opposite end. I didn't include it in here, but one guy was our family's heirloom, big beautiful oak table. The movers put a chimenea on top of it. And
no.
the move, and it just scratched it to fuck. CM Barrett 76 said, PCS related. We had to move 3 times in 3 years because the owners of the houses we were renting from chose to keep our rent money rather than pay the mortgage.
Jesus.
So 3 times in a row, all at the same post, he said.
I don't know what you get out of that, ruining your credit like that.
I
That's
know.
pretty silly, but
And
go
then
ahead.
at TPMIII, Pat the Third, all right, my driver quit halfway through a cross-country move. He just got halfway and said, you know what, I think I'll go home. I think I'm done. They had to load...
Excellent Forrest Gump there.
I know, thank you. They had to load everything from his truck to a new truck. They didn't tell me until delivery day. I'm still finding things missing. Oh, and they bought someone else's antique organ thinking it was mine. So hey, have your shit's gone. Here's this antique organ. What? And then finally, at Lowbree17, a.k.a. O'Breezy, said, my stuff was delayed 2 weeks. When it got here, the mover started breaking down to me about his dead fiance and how he had to spend his own money to get my stuff here. Oh, and he lost my bed and broke my 65-inch TV. Yeah, to have your PCS mover having a full mental breakdown on the way, not great.
I'd say, you know what, to that, I'd probably just say it'd be a little heartless, but I'd say, I'm really sorry, but you broke my stuff.
Another one I didn't include was this guy said he had some very fancy, expensive liquor his friends got him because he was PCSing, he was leaving. So he had it out because he was going to put it in his own, certain things you transport in your own car that are fancy or whatever. And the movers, he looks, it's gone. The movers are like, oh, we thought you left that out for us. They drank it. They were, So there was.
That's a good tip, by the way.
They packed the fucking dog food, but not the liquor.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. If you are moving on PCS Move and you have stuff that is very valuable or cannot be replaced, move that yourself. Do not trust the movers because God forbid.
Well, that's what I did, Cons. Whenever I moved down here, I had my car on the back of the U-Haul whenever I was driving down. And somehow there's a leak that got into my trunk. So my hard drive with all my pictures on it from deployments and shit like that was in there. All my original documentation from awards and shit like that. My original Purple Heart, my original, all the other stuff, all destroyed. I don't have any of the originals.
Dude.
Sad.
Yeah.
That sucks. But at least you know you're not alone. Misery loves company when it comes to PCSing.
Seriously.
It seems like so many people had these horrible stories, dude.
I will say, though, when you think about moving, it's probably one of the worst things to have to do, especially if you have a lot of stuff. But the fact that you can move for free in the military, that's pretty good.
What it costs? I mean, it's for free.
Yeah, that shit. Nobody enjoys that shit.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, let's move on to round 2.